Hi and welcome to this video, which is on my rusty Ford Focus. So I started with the Nearside sill and that wasn't too bad, bit of rust. Managed to patch it with a Helium Balloon Bottle. Burnt myself as well on that. Gets really hot with a blowtorch. But that aside anyway, that was all okay. Thought that was good. Even got my wife to go and get the paint colour to spray the seals because everything was on a roll, I thought. Until I flipped the car around and then did this side. And as you can see from this camera here, this whole seal is a complete disaster. So my helium bottle trick was not going to work on this. So I had to try and locate a steel stock holder that was going to be able to supply me probably a length of metal 2 meters long at about 1.5 mil thickness. So that's going to have to be another video now. So this video basically is on repairing the Nearside sill, having a look at this disastrous Offside Sill, and yeah, that's it really. So anyway, if you could like and subscribe to my channel, that would be much appreciated. It does help things. And have a good weekend, everyone. So now it's time to tackle those rusty seals, and I'll start with the near side. So this is where having two rather heavy duty jacks is quite useful, because I can try and jack the car up as far as I dare. Like so. Good jacks though. Apart from ball bearings keep falling out of the rear wheels, out of the casters, so I've had to buy some new casters. So I'm going to probably put a few axle stands underneath, because obviously if something went wrong and I'm actually underneath, this is definitely going to end in disaster. So I'm going to try and put a few extra sort of fail safes in there for me. So there we go. So the exhaust looks a little bit rusty as well. Get those out of the way. So these are just for fail safe. Obviously these wouldn't support the car, they'd probably punch a hole in the floor pan. But it might just give me a little bit of extra time to get out of the car if the worst happens. So welding a sill is not really one of my first jobs I would want to do, because obviously welding upside down is not exactly easy. A bit of a skill that, and I can't say that I'm an expert at all at welding. I've done it on a bench and it's sort of, I think it's been okay. But on a rusty car that really does sort out the men from the boys, doesn't it? And there we are, we've got a nice massive hole there near the rear wheel. So this seems to be where the Fords always seem to rust. And ironically that plastic panel was supposed to actually make the seals last longer, because I believe Ford did have an issue with it. And so they added the plastic panels. But obviously there is a fear that by adding the plastic you can actually trap water there and salt from the roads and actually hasten the rusting. Anyway, we'll get this panel off now. This is some protective panel. I'm not sure what it's protecting or how effective it is, because it still looks all extremely rusty. Now I'm just going to go over that with a hammer, just make sure we haven't got any holes. That's my fear. Thankfully that wasn't a hole. Obviously, so most of the sill actually is okay. It's just that back bit by the look of it. So it might be just one panel. So I'll go over that with the air scaler. Just try and knock some of the rust off, so I can see things in a better light. So obviously I'll have to put some rust treatment on this. I mean, I just hope the seals are the only thing that would actually prevent this car from getting an MOT. Obviously if I've got other issues, this could end up getting quite costly really. And then we'll just go on to the wire brush, try and clean it up, ready for welding. Okay then, so we now need some patch metal, and for that I'm going to use an old helium balloon cylinder. So no one can ever say that I'm tight with money, can they? Really? Well, it saves the planet, doesn't it? So anyway, so there's our helium balloon bottle. We've sliced that in half, and the plan is cut the end off because that's a little bit domey, and then we'll cut across. Obviously you've got to watch the edges on this, grind all your edges down, and then what I'll do is heat it up and then start to try and flatten it out. Now one thing I didn't realise was actually how hot this metal was going to be. You can see the steam coming off, so things are getting hot now. So I keep it this, just keep flattening that down. There we are, so we're pretty flat now. Just try and straighten it a bit more. So now I've just got to put the 90-degree bend in where it's going to go along the lip of this sill. So that's looking okay. And then I'll just run some holes along that so I can sort of weld through and mimic spot welding. Just remembering which way it goes. The old brain ticking away there. And I'll just put a slight lip on it as it curves back up, because the sill is obviously not straight, it curves up to the doors. So I'm quite pleased with that. I think that should do the trick, and it's just over 1 mil thickness. Okay then, so now let's drain all the petrol from the tank. So one of the reasons I don't like welding on a car is because of the fire risk. So I know this car hasn't got much fuel in it anyway, but obviously before I start welding I really would prefer to have an empty tank. So what I'll do is I'll just keep turning the ignition key to try and get it out. There was a bit more than I thought. So after flicking the ignition key 100 times, I decided we'd just find the fuel pump relay and we'd jump the terminals and get that fuel pump running continuously. So you can hear that pump going now. It's coming out very slow. I thought it actually was going to come out a lot faster than that.
What? Come on.
So it was a bit tedious. But yeah, so get all the fuel out. It does look somewhat stale. Either that or it looks like something else. But yeah, that's definitely petrol, honestly. Okay, so the car should be now a bit safer for welding on. So then what I'll do now is I'll just put a surge protector on, because I believe they actually say to keep the battery on and put a surge protector on. Because obviously you can either disconnect the battery, but apparently that doesn't always protect the ECU. Because sometimes the battery can act as something like to absorb these spikes. But anyway, we'll just get the welder ready now. Let's get the gas on. Or Arga shield. So I think we'll set this to 3. And a wire feed speed of about 5. And we'll see what we do. Get our earth clamp on. And let's get all the kit on. So hopefully I don't burn myself This is why I don't like welding under a car. It's not pleasant, really. Okay then, so let's crack on, see what we can do. So it's going okay so far. And then we do actually get a bit of a fire in the sill. So again, this is the problem with welding on a car. Yeah, the wax oil's now caught fire. So thankfully I did put a water container to hand just for this purpose. The number of cars that have gone up in flames by welding it's a lot. Okay, that's that fire out for the moment. So we'll carry on now. So I'm trying to do little stitches so I don't overheat the metal. Like I say, I'm not a professional, so it's just doing the best you can. So I'm using compressed air now to try and blow out the fire. And we've just got to stitch it now on the outer part. So it keeps catching fire. It's not really something I like. And then we've got a bit of a rust on the front wing. So this is actually part of an old tool tray. So I cut up a tool tray for this bit. I think I probably should actually start buying some metal rather than keep trying to reutilise. But anyway, so now let's turn our attention to the offside sill, which I thought wouldn't be very bad. Okay, so we flip the car around. So we do the same procedure as what we did on the other side. Get some axle stands under there. So this is where it all goes a bit wrong now. I don't know why I thought this sill would actually be not as bad as the other side. Perhaps it's because there's less surface rust. But then once I started taking things off, so we get that panel off, you can hear all the rust just falling down. It's all very concerning. This is why I tend not to spend much on car parts, because if this car turns out to be completely useless, I've just spent a load of money on suspension and everything else, and it's money I won't be able to recoup. So I don't mind spending it once the car's got an MOT, but you know. So here we go. Let's pull this sill off, or the sill cover. Didn't take much effort. I've removed the screws, but
oh no!
Yeah, I've just seen the big hole at the front. So this is crushed in from the jack. So my heart sinks at this point. Yeah, very disappointed. So it's obviously not going for an MOT next week. So we're not going to be able to just patch this with a helium bottle. This is gone up a notch, or up a gear as they say. Alright, so let's start tapping away, shall we, and find out how bad this really is. But it's definitely not going to pass an MOT. It just seems so thin. I'm sure Ford use... I mean, I found a metal stock holder, a welding guy that knows what he's actually talking about, and he said 1.5mm would really be the minimum to use on this. I mean, this metal here seems thinner than the helium bottle. I think that was just a smidge over 1mm. So what do Ford use on this? It's got to be so thin. So anyway, we crack on and start trying to clean it up a bit. But I know I've got my work cut out now.
It's a whole sill.
Yep, it's the whole sill. Which is what, nearly 2 metres long? So I could buy a panel, but I think they're like £80 each on eBay. So I think I'm just going to have to see if I can't get a panel made up just to repair this lower bottom section. So that would be the next video, is cutting this all away. But there we go, that's cars for you. Anyway, so here's the fuel pipe reference material. So I forgot how to unclip these, so I thought I'll just add this little bit. So if nothing else, I could remember how to remove it. So you sort of push in from the back and it pushes the jaws open. That's after you've taken this locking clip off. So that locks it in position. Let's remove the clip and push on the back piece. Okay, so here's some Nearside reference photographs, which you can pause if you really want to view them for longer. Yes, that side wasn't too bad. So I'm sort of in for a penny in for a pound on this Ford Focus now. That front wing looks dodgy. That's previous welding there. Probably needs new wings as well, really. Okay, and then if we go to the offside, which is obviously the bad side, and let's have a look at those photographs. Massive hole there. I just hope I can weld on the back of this lot, being so rusty. Oh well, okay then. So you've been watching how to repair an abandoned Ford Focus and hopefully get it through an MOT. Thank you for watching and supporting my channel, and please like and subscribe. This video was filmed and edited by me, Mark Savage, in June 2023, and I can be found on Facebook and Instagram as Coats and Gators.